This is another easy Halloween little decoration that you can make that it would be really cool stacked on a mantle, or actually in if you had a big enough cloche for the book that you're going to use, even like a large glass jar. And I'll kind of show you what I mean at the end of this video when I get it all done, and then I can kind of display it and give you some ideas. But all you need is an old book. It does not have to be a vintage book. It can be any book. Yes, you are going to paint this book. I find these in free boxes at yard sales, estate sales. This one I love because it's torn apart. It's not in the best condition. The inside's falling apart, so it's perfect for kind of a Halloween decoration. So I'm going to use one of my favorite paints. This color is Anchor, a black paint, and I am just going to paint the outside of this book with the paint. I just wanted to do one layer of the black paint first, and then just kind of, I'll show you what I'm gonna do next, and then it'll take kind of another coat of the paint. This paint is the all-in-one paint that I use on my furniture pieces. We actually just, we did not use black, but we actually just painted, we made over Gabrielle's art nook. We turned a closet into an art nook years ago, but we just gave it a makeover just because it needed one. And we used the all-in-one paint on the walls. So we did some paneling on her walls inside that closet, and then we used the all-in-one paint on those walls. This stuff is amazing. It's got the primer, the paint, and the top coat all in one. So I thought I was gonna need to get, it comes in different sizes. You can get different size jars of it. And I thought I would need a ton of paint to cover those panels. I was floored with the little amount of paint it actually took to cover it, because the coverage is so well. So if you're looking for a good paint, I definitely recommend this stuff. I'll put a link for it in the description of this video, but I just love this stuff. So, okay, I have one layer on here. This project is super, super simple. It'd be fun to do it on a couple of different sized books if you've got them. But I'm gonna let this layer of paint dry, and then we'll come back and do the next step. Now that the book, even just this just looks kind of Halloween-y. just having it with that flat kind of black paint, and it's kind of all, it's broken, and this already looks, this just like it is, since the lettering is kind of like indented a little bit. But I just wanted to add kind of just like a little spider web on the edge of this book. And now I'm wondering, maybe I'll just do it. I'm trying to get, let me grab a pencil just so that I can kind of see what I'm gonna do before I actually put the hot glue on there. So I was just thinking, just kind of do it that maybe then like this way, kind of come out like this, and then super just simple spider web, right? Like I said, we'll just kind of do it in this corner because I love the look of this. Does not have to be perfect. So now what I'm just gonna do is just use my hot glue gun. I need to get a cordless hot glue gun. I'm just gonna kind of follow those lines that I just created with the hot glue. this fully, that didn't do very good. You want to let this fully dry. Okay, now I'm gonna let that fully dry, and then we will come back and add more paint. Once the paint is dry, unplug your hot glue gun. Sometimes I forget to do that. It's time to just paint over it. So I'm just using the same black paint, and I'm just gonna kind of go over it all one more time. Just so then the spider web looks like it's part of the book. I'm not gonna paint the backside again. The backside's just fine. Just wanna make sure I get the spider web fully covered in the black paint. And you can see once you get it covered in the black paint, you can't really tell if you know what I mean, got too much glue on it, or it's thinner in some areas and thicker in others. It all just kind of blends in. And then once this dries, I may do a little bit of kind of like distressing or age. We'll see. I'll let this dry and then I'll decide what I'm gonna do. And it may just be done. I may just like it the way it is. Okay, now that everything is dry, you can definitely just leave it like this. It looks kind of like, I maybe could do another coat on there, but I will do that at the end of this. And you can also use black, just black, like the craft paint that you can get for like 50 cents at your Michael's or Walmart or anywhere. You could distress this a little bit as well. Like if you wanted to kind of see some of that, like this one was a kind of like a brown colored book. You could definitely distress it with some, light sandpaper. I am just getting the littlest amount of paint on this foam brush, and I'm just kind of adding some of that. I'm trying to just use paint. I didn't want to grab any other supplies that maybe you wouldn't have on hand. If you had some like antiquing wax or dark wax, you could definitely do that as well. You could add some gold to this, which that might be like some gold paint or some rub and buff, if you know my love for rub and buff. It just kind of just depends on what, so it's kind of like it could be like a spell book or something. I just want to add a little bit more. I'm just going to use this foam brush on here because it looks like a little bit of the glue. You might need a couple. I thought it was completely dry and I was good, but now as I come back to it, the hot glue, you may need to cover that again, which is fine. Just another coat and let it dry. And now I just rubbed it off. Let me grab a paintbrush. I don't love using foam brushes. There we go. Definitely, I was just rubbing it off with the foam brush, but it worked good for the sides of the pages. So I'm just kind of going in with a heavy hand. Cover it again. But then you could definitely use some, gold paint if you wanted to highlight the, just like the tops of the spider web. You could highlight some of the, can you see this? Let me see. So some of this like design here, maybe not the words obviously because this was an English book, but you know, some of the, if you had a book that had some designs or something on it, or the spine or just the edges, you could definitely add some gold touches on there as well. Still would make it look spooky and just kind of cool in it on a display for Halloween. But yeah, now I have to wait for this to dry. And then I'll kind of show you the rub and buff and what I mean, because I do get that question a lot when I share it. Okay, so rub and buff are these little tubes, and this is still a little wet. I just kind of wanted to show you. I love this stuff. It is just kind of like what it says. You just rub it on and it just kind of highlights just wherever you put it, kind of. I'm gonna grab just a little rag here that I'm going to cut off, but so I just use a cloth. You can use a brush, but I just don't want to do this too much on this book. But you literally just, you can just rub it on, whoops, rub it on the edges there. Like I said, and just kind of, obviously if you wanted to it to show up more, you could add more. But you know, if you just wanted to kind of do it around the edges. Depending on where the book's gonna be, I'm just gonna hold it there. You could do this on the pages, but I kind of like where it's kind of broken down here, so you can highlight those little areas. But you don't need a lot to just kind of give a little bit of shimmer or a little bit of, and it comes in different colors. I definitely have my favorites. This is actually, so you can kind of see it there. This is a good color for this project. And this color is, which one was it? Gold leaf? I think it was gold leaf, yeah, because this is really pretty gold. My favorite that I've used like on other projects is European gold. And you can buy this at Hobby Lobby, but it doesn't have my favorite colors. So I get it I like to get the set from Amazon, and I'll put it in the description of this video. But see, and whenever I do this, I'm always like, okay, I'm just gonna do the edges just to kind of show what it looks like. And then I just keep going and going. You just kind of, like I said, rub it on. You can obviously do a lot more the more you put on. It is not as forgiving as, you know, it's kind of, I guess it kind of depends on what you're using it on. So you definitely want to use a little. You can always add more to wherever you're putting it, because like, especially to a book like this, it's going to be hard to kind of move it around, if that makes sense. And once it gets on there, because it's not really, it's kind of a porous surface. There we go. That's kind of what I'm saying. And see, so like right there, I got too much on. Now something like this, I'm just going to kind of rub it with a clean side, and that's fine. Something like this, I would definitely, like if I got too much on there, I would just go over it again with my white or with my black paint, and then just layered. It's just an old book that, you know what I mean? But so there you can kind of see, and that did kind of bring out I actually kind of like it. So I'm glad I did it. I'm going to do a little bit here on the bottom. My spider web is still, oops. I just don't want to get too much on there. And you can see like just a little bit, in the areas where my spider web is not dry. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry. Like where I just rubbed a little bit on it. I kind of just love that. This looks like it was maybe that color underneath the black paint. So that I kind of like, where it kind of came on there thick, but then these other areas, the thicker areas I'm doing it actually looks like that's the color of the book underneath, which is kind of cool. I didn't I wasn't planning that, but then you could just kind of highlight. I don't want to do it now because like I said, my black paint is still drying. I can maybe tap it. I just don't want to pull it all off again. Okay, I'm just gonna let that go. Okay, and then you could also add a little bit of the gold to the pages, kind of here where you added or just at the edges. Again, it kind of depends on how you're gonna display this and what you're gonna actually see. So, you know, if you were going to display it, I'm trying to hold this so you can see it, you know, where you were gonna see this part, then maybe you do kind of want to add some more gold to it. The reason, obviously, I put the spider web on it is because I wanted to display it kind of standing up. So you're not really gonna see these areas, but maybe next year when you bring it out, you want to display it a different way. So get it all done now before you put it away. But you can definitely, obviously, put it in here a little bit. Just kind of do whatever you want to do. Okay, so I am going to let this fully dry, and then I do have this huge jar. It does have a lid too, that I kind of have in my office. But something like this would be really cool to display it in. Stand it up, kind of add some things in it. If you had some like twinkle lights as well, that would be really cool to put around it. So I am going to display it like this, and I will show you that here at the end of the video. If you had a cloche, that would be amazing too. If you had one big enough, definitely another idea. So I will show you what I do with it here in a little bit. So here the book is done. Here is my big jar. If you have followed any of my content, you know that I love picking up old Scrabble games for the wood tiles, so I always have them. This is just an old little crock that I thought I could lay in there and then use some twinkle lights. So this will be a good place to like hide that box, and then the crock can kind of help hold the book up. So this is what I'm kind of going with. I'm gonna finagle around with it a little bit, and then I'll show it how it ends up.